Hey, I'm Bill.
I'm Kim.
Welcome to Two Bug Garage. I just think I asked my sister this morning, I'm like, do you have any more footage of me driving the Bug? And she's like, I don't think so.
I'm amazed you have that footage.
I know. So, anyway, I thought it'd be cool to talk about the car while I'm driving around in it. Now it's 2023, and that was 1988.
You're a few years older.
Yeah. And my hair has migrated south for the winter.
That is very true, folks.
So it's
in
surreal. 88, summer of 88, I drove through North Carolina.
Yeah.
On the way back to Pennsylvania.
And now here you are driving her 30 years later. Well,
yeah. So I get the car home in 1988.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I'm reading Hot VW's magazine, which was a big mistake because then I wanted to customize the car. I remember this car. It was called the Red Runner, and they had done everything to this car. Like every nut and bolt was chromed, and they painted a mural on the bottom of the car. Like the pan was painted red.
I think it's really cool when the pans are painted to match the car.
Yeah. I think it's cool too. Didn't realize how expensive that would be to do. And, you know, at the time, the car was in decent shape. It needed, according to my dad, we needed a new motor. Like, because it was, I don't know if the case was cracked or something. I still have it, and when I tear into it, I'm going to figure out what exactly was the problem with it. But
it got you from Florida to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we just couldn't drive in the afternoon. Like after noon, basically, when it got too hot, the car would spit and sputter. And now, like looking back, it could have just been carburetor issues or something, you know?
Yeah.
But my grandparents gave me the car. So it was my first car. And I parked it. My dad and I started working on it a little bit. It became evident, like, what I wanted to do with it was going to require some money. My dad purchased a rebuilt engine, which is what's in this car right now. It was a 1600cc from a 1974 that he got from a guy on my dad was in the Air Force.
Marketplace?
No, not Facebook Marketplace. So my dad's in the Air Force. There's a mechanic at the base who is into Volkswagens, and he rebuilds this 1600cc we buy the long block. My memory's really fuzzy about a lot of stuff, okay? Like, in the order of events. But I took the car apart way more than I needed to. But before I had it apart, it was parked in our garage, and my little brother was learning how to drive, and we had a Volkswagen Fox at the time. So the Volkswagen Fox, to go into reverse, you would push down, you go to the left and up, and he went to the left and up, which was first gear, and then he looked behind him, and then he drove through the garage door.
So he didn't barely hit the gas, he just went for it?
He just went.
Okay.
It went through the garage door, and I'm sure that the fact that the car went forward when he was expecting reverse, he probably pushed on the gas even more. But it hit the garage door, pushed that into my car, pushed my car back into my dad's old Craftsman table saw. So it dented both the front and the rear bumpers of my car. And at the time, it's 1990, and we just got rid of the bumpers because, the car wasn't that old. It was 67.
They weren't collector. I mean,
no, it was a little over 20 years old, and you just figure you're going to be able to get another set of bumpers.
Right.
But because I was into wanting to customize it, I ordered these Euro blades, and now that I have this car back and I'm driving, I want the original style bumpers back on it with the overriders.
So if anybody's watching this and they have a set of 67 bumpers hanging in a garage they don't want.
Yeah, and 67 being 1 year only for a lot of things.
Yeah. Just go ahead and PM us for our address and we'll.
Yeah, you can buy you can buy new bumpers, but the rear bumper overriders have to be able to clear the deck lid. I might have to figure out a way around that if I do end up getting new bumpers, if I can't find some good ones. I saw a new old stock one for sale. A guy wanted $2,500 for the rear bumper.
I saw that, yeah.
It's not going to do that.
No.
This steering wheel is an original Formula France, and when I pulled it out of the box, this horn butt was completely, it just had disintegrated. The plastic was gummy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found a guy in France who 3D prints these. Thank you, eBay. And I got the reproduction horn button 3D printed, and it works great.
Wait, do that again?
So, but some other changes I made to the car. My grandfather originally had made aluminum panels here for gauges, and I put the original style back in for the fuel. And then this is a vintage video tachometer, and I got a gauge panel from, I believe it was ISP, that adapted to the tachometer without having to cut it. The radio is not original. This is a retro sound, but it looks original. And then my grandfather had a compass right here that I don't know where he got it from, but when I had it, I tried to keep it in the car, but it would not read accurately. So this is actually a mount for my phone, and it's magnetic. But I did find an original 67 hazard light switch to be able to do the hazard lights. And my grandfather had pulled that out and put a later model switch in, and when I rewired the entire car, I wanted the original flashers, because I got a reproduction of the original 67 flasher relay assembly.
You still have his throttle.
Oh yeah, so the window crank says throttle on it, because apparently the one broke, the knob broke, and this is what he replaced it with.
But that's how they did. That's how they did, Bill.
Yeah, and I love that he did that, and I'm not gonna change it. This shifter is from Frankie.
It was free. We bought the shifter, tell the truth, for $3,000.
$3,200.
And it came with a free car.
With a free car. It's costing us a lot more than that to put back together.
That's what I keep saying. We just bought it because Bill liked the shifter, and it just happened to come with a free car, and I decided to fix it up.
Yeah.
That way, it's not my fault. Now you're cool.
But anyway, this is a dream come true having this car put back together. So, the car was apart from basically 1980, late 1988 until 2021, right?
Yeah, I think so. We have footage of you driving around the yard the first day she ran in 30 years.
Yeah. And
which will play right now.
well, I mean, honestly, I think this happens to a lot of people. I, in college, did an internship at Walt Disney World. That's where I met you.
Oh, hi.
And after I got out of school, I moved to North Carolina. And as soon as we bought a house, my father called me up and was like, "Hey, I'm bringing your car." So he loaded Shirley up into a U-Haul and drove it to North Carolina. And
A U-Haul and 42 boxes.
yeah, so we put it in my garage. Didn't really have the extra funds to put the car together, and so hold on, is that a Corvette?
Huh.
Nice.
You're faster than them, Bill. It's okay.
Not really. And so in 2010, I'm on a mission trip in West Virginia. No, Kentucky. I'm in Kentucky. And a church buddy of mine, we start talking Volkswagens. Turns out he is a classic VW guy, has a double cab, and he kind of encourages me to start putting this car back together. So in 2010, I did a lot of work on the pan. I bought new tires. I got the pan basically and the suspension all redone. And then it came time to do body work and make the chassis to the pan. And I started talking to him seriously about, like, I wanted to repaint the car at the time. And he said, he's like, "I wouldn't do that." He goes, "I would just put it together and drive it and enjoy it." He said, "If you spend a lot of money and time painting it, then you're not going to want to drive it as much because you're going to be afraid of every nick and chip and stone." And he's like, "Just put it together and drive it." So I took his advice. I should rewind that this is not the original color of the car. The car was Lotus White, and my brother-in-law, Jay, he painted it back in 1991. We took it up to Northeast Pennsylvania, sandblasted the body and the pan. He put some PPG on it. I think it's DP40 is the primer, and then he used the General Motors white. And the engine tin is 1992 Corvette blue. And I had ordered the interior, so we wanted everything to match. So this car actually represents how I envisioned this car back in the early 90s. It was kind of a retro California look. And I got the 5-spoke MP wheels, got those painted body color. So fast forward to 2020 in the pandemic, and I remember telling Kim, I'm like, I either need to get rid of this car or I need to put it together. What'd you say to me?
I said, "I'm not living with your regret for the rest of our lives. Put the car together," I think is maybe what I said.
Well, I would walk out in the garage, I'd look at it not complete, and I felt like a failure. I felt like this is the one thing in my life that it's a project I never finished. And
Well, I think it also, you lost your dad, so he never got to see it finished. So
Yeah.
that hits you hard when your dad passed away. And, it was like all these things happen in your life that made you think, now this person's not going to see the car finished. You always talked about taking your grandma for a ride in her car.
Yeah.
Of course, she was 99 by the time the car was put together and passed away shortly after that, but she knew it was finished.
Yeah.
She saw videos and stuff, knew it was finished. But I think every time there was like a milestone in your life, it would come back to, and the car's not finished.
Yeah.
So I was like, we're not doing this for the next however many years we have together. We're finishing the frickin' car.
Yeah.
So it was the right decision.
Absolutely. Because it set us down a different road now. Like,
Yeah.
started going to shows, and I would honestly, like, I would send Kim Facebook Marketplace listings. She told me she'd always wanted a convertible
Super Beetle.
Super Beetle, and I was like, oh,
Specifically a Super Beetle.
the big ugly Beetles, and
They're the prettier ones,
yeah,
Bill.
yeah. So
we've had this argument for 30 years.
yeah, I mean, they're super. They got they're just a little fat nose on them, and they got the
They're
giant
so cute.
tail lights, and
They're so cute. So I really did. When I was 16, I was buying Hot VW magazines with convertible Super Beetles on the cover, always wanting a Super Beetle, which of course, my brother Kerry had, my brother-in-law Wes had, I think my parents had. My parents had a camper, and then when it came time for me to get a car, it's the 80s, and my parents were like, no, you're not driving a Beetle. You know what I mean? It just wasn't the car that I was going to get. So here I am at 50. Something. And I have the car that I always wanted.
now we just got to get her put together. And we're about to embark on what I have the least experience in, which is body work. But
she's got a lot of cancerous rust.
Yeah.
And she won't survive. I mean, the reality is we could throw her back together and drive her the way she is, but she would not last.
I just don't want to do that.
No, she would end up broken and
I want to give her
in the woods somewhere like all of them do.
Yeah, I want to give Frankie another shot at 50 more years.
Yeah.
Before they outlaw gasoline engines altogether, which feels like is coming sooner than.
Not the classics, though.
Yeah.
Maybe new ones, but not the classics. We'll get to drive them.
Wait, are you using power tools?
Well, I look at all these I used before you handed me this. Literally. You handed me all these and then said, oh, try this.
So this is my fault.
You always do this.